So here's something we haven't talked about in a while. Good old show media websites like Kotaku putting out absolute trash articles talking about the Lord of the Rings and how diversity is very important in the Lord of the Rings because the Lord of the Rings is that IP, that mythos that loves to be adapted by all of these woke liberals that are looking for reasons to find their favorite kind of people in there, which are black people, to virtue signal to and with. And now they've done it yet again with Magic the Gathering's expansion for Lord of the Rings for one of their card sets, where apparently we've talked about this before. They're going to black. Yes, that's correct. They're going, and I know Artiste, who's watching me right now, doesn't like me using that word, but I'm sorry. I'm going to have to use it. Aragorn has been 100% blacked. This is something that we knew was going to happen. We knew it was going to come. They put out a picture prior, but now they're starting to ramp up the merchandise and they're starting to ramp up the post about Black Aragorn simply because they want to maximize virtue signaling points. And if they don't start soon, obviously they're going to lose momentum. So yes, Aragorn from The Lord of the Rings, who is notoriously white, who has been described as fair skinned in the books, who has been very much detailed for the past God knows how many decades, apparently is going to be mega blacked in the upcoming Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond expansion set. So we're going to get into the article, guys, but of course, before we do, just consider giving this video a like so you can push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing because we're on our way to 22,000 subscribers. It says Lord of the Rings CCG will include diversity and originality. This right here, bullshit, okay? This right here is a bullshit statement, Kotaku, because the entire reason for race swapping is so that you don't have to be original. That's the whole point, right? You guys only see validity in known, famous white characters. That's the only ones you see as valid because you believe in the supremacy of the white race. That's what a lot of these liberals believe in. They might not say it, but they absolutely act like it. By even believing that white privilege is a thing, you automatically become a racist in my eyes. But again, this is what we're dealing with. It says Magic the Gathering's Lord of the Rings expansion looks to develop a world where more players can see themselves. Oh my God. I'm so glad they finally put up a black Aragorn. What was I doing my entire life without seeing myself in Lord of the Rings? Oh my goodness. And you know what's funny here? I got a funny little statement about this. So the funniest thing to me is that people will say, oh, only white people could see themselves before in Lord of the Rings. So can you explain to me how Lord of the Rings is one of the best-selling books of all time, literally all time, and nobody could see themselves in those books? Nobody could see themselves in those books because they were text, right? They were text. So the only way you can say that they saw themselves in those books was if those characters were described to be white. And if they were described to be white, then why are you changing them based on their description in the books that you say doesn't matter because in the books, they don't have any pictures or anything like that, unless it's a special edition that draws the pictures. But again, those arguments hold no water. These are textual books that have descriptions of characters and how they're supposed to look. But at the end of the day, nobody could see themselves physically because A, it didn't matter, and B, it was a book. So this whole representation sells narrative is complete bullshit because Lord of the Rings is one of the top selling books, if not the top selling book aside from the Bible, of all time. So clearly someone's lying here. It says next month sees the release of Magic the Gathering's Universes Beyond expansion for Lord of the Rings, the Tales of Middle-earth card game. Will say creators Wizards of the Coast introduce a diversity to the endlessly reworked franchise that hasn't been seen before. Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth is to be revealed in full on May 30th when the mechanics of how the CCG will play are revealed, but ahead of this announcement has come the very welcome news, that Wizards of the Coast and Middle-earth Enterprises plan to make the Third Age a far more representative time to live in. Which is to say, not everyone's white, and if you're feeling the need to start writing a comment about the ethnicity of the Scandinavian nations that inspired, just close the article down and move on. Your blood pressure is bad enough. I love the condescending notion, man. Only from Kotaku writers will you get this absolute condescending tone where they feel like they are the most knowledgeable people in the world. They're the smartest people in the world. They're so anti-racist that they're immune to all criticism. It says, fortunately, for those whose imagination can somehow cope with magic walking trees and actual dragons, but not different melanin content in character skin, there's still plenty of blazing white fantasy out there in which they can take solace. But Lord of the Rings tome, and it will surely be called, Wizards of the Coast are somewhat nervously explaining theirs to be an exception. Again, they use this whole argument, walking trees and actual dragons, right? So if that's the case, why does it matter to have to see yourself in this media? If it's all fake, if all of it's fake and it doesn't mean anything, Why does it mean so much for you to race swap something that is notoriously not that race, not that skin color? Obviously, you're trying to talk about modern day identity politics, which is important to you, and you're using the medium of fantasy, which is not important to you, to push a narrative about what is important to you, which is identity politics. It means so much to you. It means the world to you. To be an absolute progressive, you have to constantly talk about it. You have to constantly talk about how black people are underrepresented as a white liberal. Who wrote this article? Let's see. John Walker wrote this article. Okay, is John Walker a white man? Lo and behold, John Walker is a white dude. Shocker. Shocker. Is anybody shocked that it's a fucking white dude who's always talking about black people being underrepresented because in his mind, he clearly sees himself as above the black person, and thus they have to constantly shill for it as to be convinced that they are anti-racist by doing so? You are full of shit, John Walker. You are full of shit. You do not speak for a single person of color, ever. Ever. I don't even think you have a single friend who is a person of color, let alone being able to speak about someone who is a person of color. You really are. Like, I swear to God, these people are so fucking annoying. They don't fool me. They don't fool me, and I hope they don't fool you either. They are obviously some of the most racist people out there by far, and they try to pass it off as not being racism by shilling for identity politics. It says this fresh update was a conscious choice made in partnership between Wizards and MEE, says Wizards of the Coast statement, and was driven by two guiding principles: their diversity, which is aka fake diversity, and the lack of originality. Of course. It makes me pretty sad how tentatively the company's post seems to feel it must introduce the idea, and how they almost resort to code words to try to appease an imagined hostile audience. Some characters may look different from previous depictions, and that's intentional. It says above the quoted section, the word may there is an odd one, almost as if they're hedging their bets, keeping things just a smidge ambiguous. Will would have been much better, since they will. However, with sudden confidence, it continues to say, our hope is that more people will see themselves reflected in the characters, and that players and fans can find immense joy in telling these familiar stories through gameplay. What is this thing that you feel like you have to see yourself in order to enjoy a story or to enjoy a mythos? You mean to tell me black people could never enjoy Lord of the Rings before, ever? It was impossible? It was completely impossible because they couldn't see themselves? You think that lowly of them? You think they are that weak that they are just incapable of enjoying anything unless they see a black dude on screen? Seriously? You guys realize how you fucking sound? All of you sound absolutely racist. Every single one of you who think like this. Yes, immense joy, because it's absolutely about this, about seeing oneself reflecting in the media we love. What marvelous news. What a fucking idiot. The sample cards that have been revealed so far are just stunning, including beautiful maps that perfectly capture the look of those from the original books. Yeah, I'm sure. And then there's excellent gimmick, a single printing of the unique The One Ring foil card, written in the Black Speech of Sauron, found in the first run of the English language collector boosters. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, every time I read a Kotaku article, I really wish to not be part of this planet anymore. I really do, because it's very much clear that people like John Walker over here at Kotaku is an absolute fucking racist. Every single one of them over there are racist, and they're constantly using black people as a shield for any bullshit that they want to talk about, and they love shilling for it because at the end of the day, they make it seem as if they get so much virtue signaling points for it, and it makes me sick. It really does. As someone who is not white himself, the one thing I cannot stand is when white people try to pretend they need to speak for me. That by far is one of the most annoying things that anybody can experience who's not white. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.